I never thought my biggest battle wouldn't be in the line of duty, but right in my own driveway. I faced criminals, high-stakes situations, and the worst of humanity, but nothing could have prepared me for the absolute power trip of an HOA president. It started the day we moved in. Jessica and I had spent months looking for the perfect home. After years of late-night stakeouts, long shifts, and the stress of working in law enforcement, I just wanted some peace and quiet. Maplewood Estates was supposed to be that dream, a place where we could finally settle down. The neighborhood was picture perfect, well-manicured lawns, beautiful homes, and a community that prided itself on being exclusive. Jessica fell in love with it instantly, and honestly, I didn't mind it either. But I should have known. The first red flag came as soon as I parked my county-issued, unmarked police Crown Victoria in the driveway. That's when she appeared. Karen Wilcox, president of the Maplewood Estates Homeowners Association. She materialized out of nowhere. Blonde bob haircut, neatly pressed blazer, and that tight-lipped smirk that I would soon come to despise. She had a clipboard in one hand and an attitude in the other. Jessica nudged me as Karen strutted toward us. "Oh boy, here comes the welcoming committee." Karen stopped in front of us, giving my Crown Vic a once-over like it personally offended her. "Hello," she said, her tone overly sweet. "I'm Karen Wilcox, president of the HOA. I just wanted to personally welcome you to our lovely community." I forced a polite smile. "Nice to meet you." Her eyes flicked back to my car. "I assume this won't be parked here long?" I frowned. "It's my work vehicle." Karen's expression tightened. "Ah, I see. Well, just so you're aware, we have very strict aesthetic guidelines here in Maplewood Estates. Vehicles parked in driveways should be well-maintained and blend with the community's standards. I'm sure you understand." I glanced at the spotless Crown Vic. It wasn't some beat-up junker. It was in perfect condition. Just not a luxury sedan like the ones she clearly preferred. I kept my voice even. "It's a police vehicle. It's legally assigned to me by the county." Karen's smile didn't waver, but I saw the flicker of irritation in her eyes. "Well," she said, flipping through her clipboard, "I'm sure we can find a solution. I'd hate to see you start off on the wrong foot." With that, she turned on her heel and walked away. Jessica exhaled. "Wow, that was subtle." I chuckled, shaking my head. "This is going to be fun." 2 days later, it began. I walked outside one morning to find a bright orange HOA violation notice slapped on my windshield. Vehicle violation, non-compliant parking. "Your vehicle does not meet the aesthetic standards of Maplewood Estates. Please remove it within 48 hours to avoid penalties." Jessica read the notice over my shoulder. "Oh, she is so asking for it," I sighed. "Looks like Karen's making good on her promise." But I wasn't about to be intimidated by some clipboard warrior. I was the law. I knew my rights. So I did what any rational person would do. I ignored it. Big mistake. The next morning, the violation doubled. Another notice, another warning. This time, a fine. I saw Karen walking her little Pomeranian, and she smiled at me. "Good morning, Mr. Dawson. Did you get my note?" I folded my arms. "Karen, I already told you. This is a police-issued vehicle. You don't have the authority to dictate what I do on my own property." She gasped, pressing a hand to her chest like I had just insulted her entire existence. "Oh, but I do. The HOA rules apply to all residents equally." I smirked. "Funny, I don't see you finding Todd down the street for parking his golf cart in the driveway." She blinked. "That's different." "Sure it is," I said. "Tell you what, Karen, I'll make a few calls. Maybe my office can educate you on property rights." Her smile faltered. "There's no need to get hostile. Rules are rules." I stepped closer. "And the law is the law." She huffed and stormed away, her Pomeranian yapping at her heels. I figured that would be the end of it, but I underestimated Karen's pettiness. The next morning, I walked outside, coffee in hand, and froze. My driveway was empty. My car was gone. Jessica came running out, still in her bathrobe. "Mark, where's your car?" I stared at the vacant space, anger bubbling up inside me. Then I spotted another bright orange notice taped to the front door. "Vehicle removal notice. Your vehicle has been towed per HOA Regulation 14B, unauthorized and unsightly vehicles. Contact Ridgewood Towing for retrieval." Jessica grabbed the note and read it aloud, then let out a string of expletives that would have made a sailor blush. "That's it," she snapped. "We are suing that woman." I exhaled sharply, pulling out my phone. "Oh, Karen, you just made the biggest mistake of your life." When I pulled up to Ridgewood Towing in Jessica's SUV, Tony, the guy at the front desk, looked nervous the second he saw me. I walked up to the counter. "You towed a police-issued vehicle from my property. We need to talk." Tony gulped. You're Sheriff Dawson?" "That's right." He swore under his breath. "Listen, man, Who authorized the tow?" I interrupted. He hesitated, then reluctantly, "Karen Wilcox, HOA president." I grinned. "Perfect." Tony rubbed the back of his neck. "Look, we'll waive the fees. I'll get the guys to bring your car back." "Oh, you'll do more than that," I said. "You're going to help me put an end to this little power trip." Tony sighed. "What do you need?" I leaned in. "I need copies of everything. Every document Karen signed, every request, every single piece of paper that authorized my vehicle's removal." He nodded. "You got it." I smiled. "Oh, and one more thing." Tony looked at me warily. "Yeah?" I pulled out my phone. "Get comfortable. We're calling my office." Because this wasn't just about an HOA violation anymore. This was about teaching Karen a lesson she'd never forget. Tony was sweating by the time I hung up with my office. My deputies were on their way, and I wasn't leaving without every single document Karen had signed to get my car towed. While I waited, I leaned on the counter and gave Tony my best, "You really screwed up" look. "Tony," I said, tapping the impound notice against the counter, "tell me something. Before you haul off someone's property, do you ever bother checking who actually owns the vehicle?" Tony swallowed hard. "Look, man, I swear, we just follow orders. HOA calls, they say a car is a violation, we tow it. We don't check registration." I laughed, shaking my head. "That's your first mistake." Tony sighed, rubbing his temples. "You're going to make my life hell over this, aren't you?" I grinned. "Oh, Tony, you have no idea." Just then, the front door opened, and in walked Deputy Laura Evans, one of my best officers. She took one look at me, then at Tony, then at the very familiar Crown Victoria parked outside. She arched an eyebrow. "Sheriff, why is your car sitting in an impound lot?" I handed her the violation notice. She scanned it, frowned, then looked back at Tony. "This a joke?" she asked. Tony held up his hands. "Look, we didn't know it was his." Laura smirked. "Didn't know you were towing county property? Wow, that's real unfortunate, Tony." Tony groaned. Yeah, I get it. You're going to make me regret this." I smiled. "Bingo." Tony sighed. "Fine, here's the paperwork." He handed me a thick folder. I flipped it open, skimming the documents. Karen's signature was everywhere. She had labeled my car as abandoned, claiming it was an unregistered, non-functional vehicle creating an eyesore. I let out a low whistle. Damn, she really went for it. Laura glanced at the papers. "So, what's the plan?" I grinned. "Oh, we're going to give Karen a little visit." Karen's smug little world was about to come crashing down. Laura and I pulled up to the Maplewood Estates HOA office, the thick folder of evidence sitting in my lap. The moment I stepped out of my car, I could feel it, the calm before the storm. The receptionist, a nervous-looking woman in her 40s, swallowed hard when she saw me walk in. She knew who I was. "Is Karen in?" I asked, keeping my voice polite. The receptionist hesitated. She's in a meeting." I gave her a smile. "Perfect. We'll join her." Before she could protest, I pushed the door open. Inside, Karen was seated at the head of a long table, surrounded by HOA board members. She was in full dictator mode, talking about some nonsense regarding new community standards. But the second she saw me, her self-satisfied grin vanished. "Sheriff Dawson," she said, her voice tight, "this is a private meeting." Laura leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed. Not anymore. I walked right up to Karen and slammed the folder down on the table. "Recognize your signature?" I asked. Karen blinked. "Excuse me?" I flipped open the folder, revealing the documents Tony had given me. "This is your paperwork, Karen. Your signature. Your authorization to tow my vehicle off my own property." One of the board members, an older man named Frank Delaney, leaned forward. "Wait, you towed the sheriff's car." Karen flushed red. "It was a violation." Laura snorted. Violation? Karen, you labeled a county-issued police vehicle as abandoned. You forged documents to justify an illegal tow. Do you realize how bad that looks? Karen's mouth opened and closed like a fish gasping for air. I didn't know it was a police car. I leaned in, lowering my voice. Karen, you personally stood in my driveway and told me my car didn't belong here. So let's not play dumb. One of the board members cleared his throat. This is serious. HOA funds were used to pay for this, correct? Karen's jaw clenched. The HOA bylaws give me full authority over community aesthetics. The tension in the room was thick enough to cut with a knife. Karen sat stiffly in her chair, her fingers gripping the armrests like she was holding on for dear life. The HOA board members, her own allies, were now looking at her like she had personally dragged down their property values. You used HOA funds to tow a law enforcement vehicle? Frank Delaney, the board's treasurer, asked, adjusting his glasses. Karen lifted her chin. I acted within my authority as HOA president. Laura let out a low whistle. Wow, just doubling down, huh? Karen ignored her. As president, I have the right to remove unsightly and non-compliant vehicles that violate community standards. I laughed. Oh, Karen, do you even hear yourself? I tapped the folder. This right here? This is forgery. You lied to get my car towed. Karen scoffed. And this, I continued, flipping the page, is misuse of HOA funds. You used community money for a personal vendetta. A board member, a woman named Janet, shook her head. Karen, what were you thinking? Karen glared at her. I was thinking about the community. We are supposed to be an upscale neighborhood. A police vehicle parked in a driveway makes this place look unsafe. Frank rubbed his temples. You are aware that this neighborhood is in the county's jurisdiction, right? We don't even have the right to override law enforcement. Another board member, Margaret, cleared her throat. Sheriff Dawson, what happens now? I leaned back, enjoying the panic brewing in Karen's expression. Well, I could press charges. Karen visibly stiffened. I continued, you falsified documents, misused community funds, and seized government property under false pretenses. The board murmured among themselves. Janet spoke up again. This is serious. Frank nodded. We may need to hold an emergency vote of no confidence. Karen's head snapped toward him. You wouldn't dare. Frank adjusted his glasses. Karen, you put this entire HOA in legal jeopardy. You think homeowners here are going to be happy when they find out they could be personally liable for your mistakes? For the first time, I saw something flicker in Karen's eyes. Fear. She turned back to me, forcing a fake smile. Sheriff, maybe we can come to an understanding. Laura raised an eyebrow. Oh, this should be good. Karen ignored her. I'll waive the impound fees. I'll write an apology to the board. Let's just put this behind us. I smiled. Sure, Karen, she perked up. Really? I leaned in. As long as you agree to step down as HOA president. The room went silent. Karen's entire face drained of color. You're trying to force me out. Frank sighed. Karen, you did this to yourself. She turned to the other board members, desperate now. You can't let them do this. I've given years of my life to this HOA. Margaret shrugged. Maybe it's time for a change. The vote was unanimous. Karen was out. But the thing about people like Karen, they never go down without a fight. Karen stormed out of the meeting. I figured that was the end of it. I figured she was done. I figured wrong. The next morning, I walked out of my house, coffee in hand, ready to enjoy a peaceful day. Instead, I found a tow truck pulling out of my driveway, with my car, again. I stood there stunned. She actually did it. She towed my car a second time. I could hardly believe it. I yanked out my phone and dialed Laura. Tell me this isn't happening, she answered. Oh, it's happening, I growled. Karen? Karen, Laura cursed. Where'd she take it? That's what I'm about to find out. I jumped in my truck and tore down the road. Karen was about to find out what real consequences looked like, and this time I wasn't coming alone. I floored it, my tires kicking up dust as I sped toward the impound lot. Karen had no idea what she had just done. Laura was already on the radio calling in backup. Sheriff, I just checked with Tony's place, she said. They didn't tow it. This means she went with another company. I gritted my teeth. Find out which one. I'm on it. I knew Karen was desperate, but I didn't think she was this stupid. I pulled up to the East Side Recovery Tow Yard, a sketchy little operation on the edge of town. A chain-link fence surrounded the property, rusted-out cars stacked like a graveyard of bad decisions. I slammed my truck into park and stepped out, my badge clipped to my belt. A guy in a stained tank top, chewing on a toothpick, ambled up. "You lost, Sheriff?" "Yeah," I said. "You towed a gray Crown Victoria this morning. Where is it?" The guy laughed. "That old piece of junk? Yeah, some HOA lady paid us cash to take it. Didn't even ask for a receipt." I clenched my jaw. "Where is it now?" He gave me a lazy shrug. "Already sold it for scrap." The words hit me like a brick. Everything stopped. My pulse pounded in my ears. "You did what?" The guy smirked. "Hey, you leave a car abandoned, people are going to do what they do." Laura's truck skidded into the lot behind me, kicking up dust as she jumped out. I barely noticed, because the rage was building in my chest. The car Karen had towed twice wasn't just my car, it was county property, and she had just sent it to be destroyed. Laura saw my face and knew. "Where's the car?" she asked, already unclipping her radio. I didn't look away from the tow guy. "Tell me exactly where you sent it." He hesitated. I pulled out my handcuffs. "Son, you are about to be in a world of trouble if you don't answer me right now." His smirk vanished. McMillan Scrapyard, east side of town," he blurted. Laura was already on the radio. "Dispatch, we need immediate assistance at McMillan Scrapyard. County vehicle may have been illegally scrapped, requesting immediate stop on all processing." I turned and booked it to my truck. Karen had no idea what she had done. We pulled up just in time to see a crane lifting my Crown Victoria toward the car crusher. I hit the siren. The crane operator froze. I threw open my door, badge in hand. "Nobody touches that car!" I roared. Workers scattered. The yard manager jogged over, confusion all over his face. "Who the hell?" I cut him off. "That car belongs to the county. It was towed illegally. If so much as a scratch is added to it, you're looking at felony destruction of government property." His face drained of color. "Jesus," he muttered. We were just about to crush it." Laura crossed her arms. "Not today." The manager turned and yelled at the crane operator. "Put it down, now!" The Crown Vic was slowly lowered back onto solid ground. I let out a slow breath. We got it. Karen had been seconds away from destroying evidence, but she had failed. And now? Now it was time to make her pay. I didn't wait. I drove straight to Karen's house. Laura followed, her lights flashing in the twilight. Neighbors peeked out from their windows, curtains twitching as they watched the spectacle unfold. Karen was standing outside, chatting with one of her remaining HOA board members, one of the last few who still clung to whatever power they had left under her rule. She saw us pull up and immediately put on that fake, smug smile she always wore when she thought she was still in control. "Sheriff Dawson," she said, all sweetness and condescension, "come to finally apologize?" I stepped out of my truck, feeling the weight of the warrant in my hands. Her smile faded the second I unfolded the paper. "Karen Wilcox," I said, my voice steady and firm, "you're under arrest for fraud, falsifying documents, and destruction of county property." The air around us went dead silent. Karen's face drained of color. "You what?" she stammered, taking a step back. Laura walked up beside me, her expression calm but her grip on the handcuffs tight. "You had the sheriff's car towed twice." Laura's voice was sharp. "And then you sent it off to be destroyed. Did you really think that was going to go unnoticed?" Karen whipped her head around to her remaining board member, eyes wide with disbelief. The woman with her, Janet, took a deliberate step away. You can't do this!" Karen shrieked. "This is harassment!" I gave her a slow, knowing smile. "No, Karen, this is justice." Laura grabbed her wrist and snapped the cuffs on, metal clinking as they locked. That's when Karen lost it. "You can't do this to me!" she screamed, her voice shrill enough to make the gathered neighbors wince. "I am the HOA president. I was protecting the community." I let out a low chuckle, shaking my head. "You were the HOA president, Karen. Not anymore." A sharp collective gasp rippled through the crowd as they realized what had just happened. Janet folded her arms. "You lied to all of us." Karen whipped around to face her. "You spineless cowards! I did everything for this HOA." Yeah, Janet said coolly, and now you'll be doing everything from inside a jail cell. Karen thrashed in Laura's grip, but my deputy held firm. You're making a mistake, Karen shrieked. I'll sue you all. I have connections, I sighed, patting my belt where my badge gleamed under the porch light. Karen, I'd love to see how that works out for you, but right now, I stepped closer, lowering my voice just enough for her to hear. You're done. Laura led her to the patrol car as she kicked and screamed, her shouts echoing down the once peaceful streets of Maplewood Estates. The neighbors? They just watched, some whispering, some smiling, and some, they were already taking down her ridiculous HOA signs because Karen Wilcox's reign of terror was officially over, and something told me she was going to have a whole lot of time to think about her mistakes. From inside a jail cell, Karen was officially removed from the HOA after the arrest. The board overturned most of her ridiculous fines and policies. And as for my Crown Vic, well, let's just say it's parked in my driveway, right where it belongs. And no one, not even Karen, is going to mess with it again. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this story, please like, comment, and subscribe. What do you think about this story? Let us know in the comments. See you in the next one.